Good morning, YouTube. Scott Dunnage Garage. How you doing today? We want to take a few minutes and talk about the Alaska trip. So stay tuned. Thanks for sticking with us. So we are in Colorado, Pikes Peak area on Shoebarth Loop Trail, and I want to talk about Alaska. In fact, I got a full 2 pages I want to talk to you about with Alaska. So some of the things I'd like to talk about will be how far we traveled, what it cost to go, and what everyone seems to be asking about is the vehicle and trailer breakdowns. The goal was to go on this trip to build content, to build viewers and subscribers. A friend asked to come along with me, and I was okay with that. I offered to loan him a trailer, and we were going to shoot content. He's not in any of the videos, or if he is, it's not very often, because whenever I did break out the camera, he always shied away from it. So I took that he didn't want to be in the films, and that's fine. So no worries there. So let's unpack some of the damage done to the vehicles. Both Jeeps blew out windshields. It happened. I was expecting it, so no worries. So let's talk about the damage done to the white trailer, which is the trailer I was towing. On the tongue of the trailer, I had a trailer box that had about 90 pounds worth of water, some camp gear, the box itself, and from driving from Nebraska up to Deadhorse on the Dalton, there was enough bouncing that the tongue bent. It happened. Then, at another point in the trip, I saw an amazing bear next to the road. I wanted to stop and get a picture of it. Then, ooh, gunfire. I don't know if you can hear that. We're just above the Air Force Academy, so I'm assuming that's part of their gun range. I pulled over, stopped, started backing up while watching the camera. Forgot I had the trailer and jackknifed it. Broke a scepter, crushed the tongue box, and then put a dent in the front of the camper. My bad, my mistake, my tuition. Don't forget you have a camper. And then finally, towards the end of the trip, coming up on the Grand Tetons, I lost a bearing on the camper. Again, not a big deal, it happens. Almost 9,000 miles on that. The entire trip was 10,000 miles. Again, not worried. And before we talk about the other camper, there was one other thing, and that is the doors leaked. Now the black camper, that surprised me. There was a lot of damage done to the black camper. The suspension mount ripped off the frame on the driver's side. We had that welded and patched while we were in Deadhorse. Before we got to Coldfoot, the passenger side suspension mount ripped off the frame. And by the time we got back to Coldfoot, the welds failed on the first patch on the driver's side. Also, at some point during this time, the driver's fender vibrated enough that the metal fatigued and broke. Then, after leaving Coldfoot, I don't know how it happened. I don't know if a passing vehicle threw a rock up, if the Jeep towing it threw a rock up, or a rock got thrown up from the trailer, but we broke out the driver's side camper window. It happens. After everything except for the window was fixed in Fairbanks, we headed up the Dempster and went to Tuktoyaktuk. On the way back from Tuktoyaktuk, somehow a zip tie failed. I don't know if it fatigued and failed. I don't know if a rock hit it and it broke. Don't know. Don't care. Not a big deal. The bigger deal is that zip tie was holding the wiring, and that wiring fell down and rubbed against the tire and ripped all the insulation off the wiring. Again, it happens. At some point, the leaf spring on the passenger side broke. And when it broke, the trailer dropped onto the axle, bent the passenger fender. The driver's fender re-fatigued and broke again. And I don't know how far the trailer was pulled with a broken leaf spring, but when we found it, we stopped, parked it, went and got 2 new leaf springs that were heavier in construction, heavier rated, because that's what they had. Went back and put those in. Also, because of pulling that trailer with the broken leaf spring, I'm guessing it got a little squirrely. Rocks were getting thrown up, and 3 of the 4 lights on the trailer were broken. Again, it happens. My buddy and I, we parted ways. He headed back down to take care of some stuff in the lower 48. I continued on my trip south. When he dropped off that trailer, both tires were bald. Keep in mind, this is a brand new trailer. So once I got back to town, I started working on the trailer. I took it back to the manufacturer, had a window put in, ordered new fenders, lights, wiring, and then installed all that. Went to the local tire shop, put in 3 new tires, new spare, new tires on the trailer, went with an off-road style tire instead of the street tires. But that's when I noticed something weird. The driver's tire was pointing straight, the passenger tire was turning right. Did some measuring, did some investigating. The spindle on the axle bent. So then we went to a local trailer shop, ordered a new trailer axle. They built one for it and put it in. But wait, that's not all. There was enough rocks and gravel thrown up from the roads that the aluminum diamond plate on the front of the trailer is all pitted out and actually bent forward. The front trim is pitted out and the vinyl is shot. So the vinyl above the diamond plate and above the fenders has all sorts of tears and rips in it from the rock hits. I received questions about the camper and what went wrong in the comment section in the videos. The trip from Nebraska to Alaska, we hit one point of paved road that was the absolute worst road I have ever been on in my entire life. In fact, I've been on off-road trails that were smoother and better to drive on than the paved road we were on. They beat up the Jeeps, they beat up the campers. And then there's the Dalton, and I'll put up a note right here on the distance. Round trip, that road sucked. It's heavily traveled by big trucks. There's areas that are just smooth as glass on blacktop, but there are areas that are just potholes and just bad. And it was very hard on the vehicles. To my understanding, there are rental companies that won't allow their rental fleets to go up the Dalton. So there is that. Then there was the top of the world highway, which wasn't bad, but that was several hundred miles, again, that far, of gravel and dirt road. We get to the Dempster, and the Dempster took us that far off-road, there and back. And that road was much better than the Dalton, but there were areas that were bad that beat us up a little bit. So both those trailers went through a lot of abuse. So with that, I think I'm done. I've covered everything with the campers. Let's go over to some of the costs. So for groceries, I spent $737 American or $1,010 Canadian. And that includes groceries, any fast food stops, or snacks. Parts and repairs, not including the windshields and repairs when we got home, was $1,636 American or $2,241 Canadian. Miscellaneous, $526 US, $720 Canadian. Lodging, we did spend some money on lodging, about $410 US and $561 Canadian. That does not include the hotel that my wife bought when we were coming back down the Dalton and got to Fairbanks. Now when we go over gas, I'm not going to do the decimal points. So gas, 703 gallons or 2,660 liters. The average price for gas was $4.88 US per gallon or $1.76 a liter Canadian. The most expensive gas was $7.50 a gallon or $2.71 a liter. The least expensive gas was $2.85 a gallon or $1.03 a liter. So I traveled 10,271 miles or 16,530 kilometers. And in doing this, I had an average of 15.4 miles per gallon or 6.54 kilometers per liter. To total all this up, it was $6,720 US or $9,134 Canadian. There's one last thing with the Alaska trip, and that is I messed up the name. It shouldn't have been called the Alaska trip because we did Alaska, we did North Canada, we did Glacier, Yellowstone, and the Tetons. I messed up in the name. I need to get better than that. Right now, I got to figure out the name for the next adventure that I'm on right now, and that is Colorado. I'm going to spend the next 3 weeks here in Colorado shooting content, and then finish off at Overland Expo Mountain West. I hope I see you there. So with that, we're going to say thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. You have yourself a blessed day. And remember, life's an adventure. Go live it, and we'll see you in the next video.